Hello, everyone, and welcome to Exploring Awesome. Sorry, I was waiting for some opening music that didn't play for some reason. So, welcome. As you may know, I've been on hiatus for quite a while, and my first episode back is excited to have a guest on today. My guest today is Carole Freeman. She's a keto nutritionist. She went through a bad accident about a year ago and really changed her life around. She's going to talk about that today. And so I'm going to go ahead and just introduce her right now. Hi, Carole.
Hi, Jim. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you here. And before we go any further, just let everybody know who's listening. We do have a call-in number if you have questions about ketogenic, and you can call in to 646-787-1739. That's 646-787-1739. Before we even get started, for people out there that do not know what do we mean by ketogenic, can you tell us what that means, Carole?
Oh, what does ketogenic mean? Well, ketogenic means your body is creating ketone bodies that are detectable in your blood. And primarily what I focus on is something called nutritional ketosis, which means you're eating in such a way that your body creates these ketones. Now, the way that your body creates ketone bodies is from burning fat. So ketone bodies are a byproduct of fat metabolism. So who doesn't want to burn more fat, right? So I focus on helping people learn how to get their body to burn its fat as primary fuel, and then they get to have these ketone bodies as well. And the cool thing is that not only can you run on fat, but these ketone bodies are a fuel source as well. And it turns out that they're actually a superior fuel source over carbohydrates. So that was the long answer.
That was great. That was great. That was fantastic. You really let us know what that is. I know we use this word a lot. I don't know if a lot of people see it. But I'm trying to go and look for that word. Now let me backtrack a little bit and just tell us about you, Carole. What's your backstory? What happened about this accident? Tell us about that. And tell us about Carole.
Well, I am a graduate of Bastyr. I have both a master's in nutrition and clinical health psychology, and I was a nutritionist practicing for several years after graduation, where I focused on teaching people about mindful eating and intuitive eating and just eating healthy and not really focusing on weight or any restrictive type of diet. And along that time, my weight continued to slowly increase as I tried to mindfully eat lots of carbohydrates myself. But then fast forward, a couple of years ago, I was in a really bad car accident. So on top of my own metabolic dysfunction that was going on behind the scenes, I ended up with a chronic pain chronic pain syndrome in my leg, something called CRPS, chronic regional pain syndrome, from the crush injuries from the accident. And then fast forward about 8 months after the accident, I ended up with neuroendocrine symptoms from something likely called post-traumatic hypopituitarism that can be from a mild brain injury. The word mild when it comes to brain injuries is really a misnomer because it has very severe effects on your life. And I ended up being bedridden for about 3 months from these symptoms. And the doctors couldn't really figure out what was wrong with me, let alone offer me any treatment options. And the symptoms I was experiencing, this is a really, really long list of symptoms that I had, and completely debilitating, extreme fatigue and lightheaded dizziness upon standing, intolerable to sound or light, and on and on and on. It was awful. And I didn't want to give up, though. My whole philosophy of health in the body is, what can if we give the body what it needs, it actually can heal itself. And so when the doctors couldn't tell me what was wrong or offer me any treatment options, I started thinking about, okay, so how can I get my brain to heal itself? Because if what I believe is going on, I need to help my brain heal itself. So I went back to my own nutrition training. In school, I had learned about ketogenic diet being something that treated epilepsy. Now, I didn't learn a lot about it in school, but it was just something that I knew of. And I thought, well, if it's good for epilepsy, which is something going wrong in the brain, perhaps it's also would be something that would help me. So I started delving into research on it, and the more I read, the more excited I got, as I really hoped this was going to be a solution for my problems. And I knew from my own research that it takes a while for your body to adapt to burning fat as its primary fuel and using ketone bodies as a fuel source as well. And I knew that took about 90 days to do that. And so I made that commitment to do 90 days of this ketogenic diet. And I figured if it didn't work, what have I lost? At least I tried. And the good news was it didn't take 90 days for me to see the health benefits. It was within days, the symptoms of my brain problem started going away. And then as side effects, there were so many awesome side effects too, like the chronic pain in my legs went away, and the swelling that made it so that I couldn't sit up without elevating my legs. Oh, and another byproduct was that I lost about 60 pounds and 10 inches off my waist, and on and on and on. And tons of energy, and it's just been life-changing, and it's been career-changing as well, because now I have this awesome tool that I can help people with that brings about these amazing health transformations. And so it's really, really exciting to be in, living this authentic life of, I've been doing a ketogenic diet for over a year now myself, and to be able to teach other people how to do that as well is just, it's exciting, it's rewarding, and I'm super happy.
Awesome. 60 pounds and feeling better, doing a lot of things. Now, one thing I would like to say, though, is, as the experts will tell us, this kind of plan is not sustainable.
Oh. Yeah, that's really funny. That's, there's a lot of, oh, yeah, that's a common myth. There's a ton of, there's not a literal ton, but there are many, many myths about a ketogenic diet. And we haven't actually even said what it is really yet. It's very low carb, moderate protein, and high fat. And it's closest to what people would know as an Atkins diet, but it's actually lower protein than Atkins diet, even higher fat than what most people eat as Atkins. And yeah, that's one of the many myths out there, is that it's not sustainable, like both because you'll hear people say like, oh, it's highly unpalatable, meaning that it doesn't taste good, right? But bacon and butter and burgers and avocado and salad dressing and veggies, like, not palatable. It's really, really delicious. And where that myth of not being palatable comes from is that when ketogenic diets were first used in maybe back in the 40s and 50s, they didn't know a lot about culinary practices. Actually, there weren't a lot of creative chefs back then, and they also didn't know about different qualities of fats. And so the early ketogenic diets, and even what I learned about in school, was you gave these little kids with epilepsy, you made a shake and you added corn oil to it to be able to get the fat content up. Yeah, yeah. And if you had to drink a cup of corn oil, can you imagine how unsustainable that would be, right? So it's only because, it's a held over myth that I'm here to tell you that food is absolutely delicious, and we have a lot of, creative chefs and things now. And so that's busted, is that it's unpalatable. The other thing is sustainability as well. That is just a myth of people who don't understand the biochemistry of it, all the variety of foods that you can eat. I think that people say, it's unsustainable both because you get bored of the food, but then also because it's not healthy. And both of those are not true. I could talk for an hour about that, but we don't only have so much time here, right?
Exactly. Hey folks, if you're tuning in late, you're not catching us. You're listening to Exploring Awesome. I'm Jim Kellner, the host, certified hypnotherapist, comedy hypnotist, all around 12 fella. If you'd like to talk to us, we're talking with Carole Freeman, who's also a certified hypnotherapist. She's a nutritionist specializing in, now the ketogenic eating planner. Reach us at, if you have questions for Carole for the next 20 minutes, the number is 646-787-1739. Again, that's 646-787-1739. I really love, I want to talk about this too. I follow you on Instagram, and if we're talking about unpalatable food,
right?
People follow her on Instagram, okay? What is your Instagram handle, Carole?
Yeah, Instagram is my business name, which is Hypnotic Nutrition. So HYP.
Hypnotic.
Yeah, Oh, hypnotic nutrition. If you need help spelling it, well. Well, and speaking, yeah, so speaking of Instagram, I started Instagram because people kept asking, like, well, low fat, moderate protein, high fat, or sorry, low carb, moderate protein, high fat. What does that even mean? What does that look like? That was the most common question I got was, what do you eat? And so I just thought, I'm going to turn into one of those annoying people that takes a picture of all their food and start putting it on Instagram. And that way, when people ask me, I don't have to try to recount my last days or weeks worth of meals. I can just say, oh, go look at Instagram and then you can see. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I look at the food and it's like, it's delicious. There's nothing about it that's unpalatable. I mean, unless you just like don't like bacon, or you don't like butter, or you don't like hamburgers with avocado and butter and extra mayo on them, like, Yeah, and speaking of Instagram, if you I was gonna say, speaking of Instagram, I actually have a keto giveaway going on right now. I celebrated my 1-year anniversary. If people, if you want to go look at my account on there, there is a little picture I did, a 1-year fat giveaway, right? So I have a gift, a gift box where I'm giving away a package of Adapt coffee shots. So they're little coffee flavors that are high in fat. A jar of coconut oil, a jar of buttery coconut oil, some liquid coconut oil, and a jar of some red palm oil, which is really nutritious. Go follow me and then tag 2 friends on that post. That's how you enter to get that. And I'm going to be giving that away June 18th. So you have plenty of time to enter, but go and look for that if you want to try some of these high fat things. I wanted to put some butter and bacon in there, but those don't ship very well. And I got to worry about refrigeration. So I just focused on things that were shelf stable that could be shipped easily. So.
And I look at here's the point. It's like, for me, if we're talking unpalatable, I literally think I could probably eat bacon and eggs just every day.
Bacon and eggs, yeah. Yeah.
So I could just do that. But I look at the things that you make on there, and they look absolutely incredible. Really, let the cat out of the bag. I was on Carole's show video a while back, and she said something about just trying it for 90 days. She tells people, I'm like, I can do it for 90 days.
Yeah.
So I jumped on, and I did it a couple of times when I was traveling, and then when I got injured, actually I find it so much easier than any other kind of thing. I've done paleo before, but I think I was eating probably too much protein. It's so easy to get all really delicious food.
Yeah.
It's so delicious.
Yeah, and one of the other things that makes it easier to follow is that when you're in ketosis, your appetite is suppressed as well. And so normally when we're eating a high carbohydrate diet, we need to eat every 2 to 3 hours, and we're constantly thinking about what am I going to eat next, and we have cravings and sugar and carb cravings, and so it makes it a lot harder to make healthy choices. However, when you switch over to ketosis, your appetite is what I think of as normal. Like, you're just hungry every 4, 5, 6, maybe 8 or 10 hours. And because it's a normal appetite, you can make choices about what food you eat instead of being constantly chasing those carbohydrate cravings.
This is something that I've noticed too. And I don't know if maybe it's just me or something, but I've noticed when I get hungry, when I eat higher fat, protein, on the carbs, when I get hungry, it's not that like famished feeling, like I've got to eat right now.
Right.
It's not as unpleasant. Does that happen to other people too, or?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's one of the most common things that everybody goes through my program. I haven't mentioned that yet, but one of my primary services is this 90-day keto program that I do online, and it walks people through how to start and then maintain a keto diet. And that's one of the most common things that people report, is that they no longer have what, some people call it this hangry feelings, like combine hungry and angry together. Get out of my way. I'm going to tear apart the store, the kitchen. You don't have that anymore. Part of that is because, again, when you're on a high carbohydrate diet, like most of the people in the United States are, is that you have frequent blood sugar drops. And when your blood sugar drops on top of your hunger hormones, you literally have no control. You have no willpower. Your biology is in control, and it literally needs food right away. And it does need those high carbohydrate foods. But switching over into this ketosis state, you get rid of those blood sugar drops. You have a steady state of blood sugar from burning fat. And so you take away that like ravenous hunger that you were talking about. And so then you just get the normal hunger signals that tell you, you could use some food right now, but it's not that blood sugar drop, like immediate biology drive of food now and it needs to be high carb. It just is like, we could use a little more calories right now. And when you get some time, could you just, give us some food? We'd really appreciate that, right? And so it finally gives people what they thought they were lacking, willpower. It's all of a sudden you've choices and you have control over what you're eating. And for most of the people that I work with that have a lot of weight to lose, or they've struggled with their weight a long time in their life, it's so empowering for them to finally feel this ability to make choices in what they're eating rather than, chasing the dragon of carbohydrates.
The dragon is so right. I can remember that back before I started paleo, and carried food everywhere I went. I did every 2 hours, every 3 hours, I would get super hungry and had to eat. I wanted to mention to you about the ability part. I actually looked at a bunch of stuff, and we talked about a chocolate pie, I believe.
Oh yeah.
I've always been very much a sweetaholic, and I could not eat sweet. It's just difficult.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at all these recipes on how to make even lemon pie ketogenic. So lemon pie and everything. But I gotta tell you, once I get kind of started with it, I don't even want to go through the trouble of making it. It doesn't even seem like even right now I think about eating that pie and I think it would be too sweet. I can't. It's such a weird thing. Do you find that a lot with a lot of clients?
Yeah. I mean, we start out minimizing any sweet taste because it retrains your taste buds, but also that same thing where you're not riding that blood sugar roller coaster, right? Most sugar cravings come from that drop in blood glucose that people experience on a high carbohydrate diet. And so when you take that away, again, giving your body that steady state of energy from both fat and ketone bodies, it takes away most of that sugar craving and that drive to turn towards sugar. So yeah, that's very common as well, is that all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, that's a lot of effort to make that thing there, that keto dessert thing. And so I'm just going to have another piece of bacon, or, I'm going to have some, I'm going to have some cheese instead. And that just is so much easier because I can just pull that out of the fridge. It's already ready to go. So.
I'm going to answer the call. You're on with Jim Kellner and Carole Freeman of the Keto Nutritionist. What's your name? My name's Kim, and hi, Carole. It's been a while.
Hi, Kim.
Carole and I used to work together. I'm calling in because I thought I'd do this, and because my stomach was bloating, and it was just seemed like it was growing exponentially. So I started this thing kind of on my own, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend that others do it on their own. But anyway, that's what I've done because of others' reasons. But anyway, but my stomach has decreased, and my belt size has decreased by at least 1 to 2 notches, and I'm absolutely thrilled. I had ridges on my nails that were anyway, those have decreased.
Yeah.
My mental clarity is better. I have more energy. I mean, I'm just really thrilled about the ketogenic diet.
Oh,
And one of my concerns is on food stuff, the high fat intake. The other day I put some, I had some bacon grease, warmed it up, put in some kale, some pre-cooked hamburger, and let it kind of sop up with the oil that was in there and ate it like that. And I'm kind of wondering, is that okay?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, that's just an example of like, oh my gosh, that sounds so terrible. You had bacon grease and burgers and kale. Like, you poor thing. Like, that sounds like the worst.
It was so yummy.
Yeah.
I was so surprised. And the only thing I would have done different is maybe adding some mushrooms and onions, but it was absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
I enjoy your post too, because one of the struggles I had early on was, oh my God, what do I eat? What do I eat? Yeah, so it's been a challenge, but it's also been very rewarding.
Yeah, well, that's great. I'm so excited to hear your success because I haven't heard how things are going for you. So that's really exciting. And it's what you're sharing too about the drop in your belt notches. For years, we've been told there's no way to spot reduce and there's nothing that helps us lose fat in the middle of the body, even though we know that the fat in the middle of the body is the most worst for your health. And interestingly, a ketogenic diet, because it targets fat loss, it actually targets it around the middle of your body as well. So you've lost, it sounds like, several inches. I experienced 10 inches off my middle. I've always been somebody that carries a little extra in my middle just because probably genetically is how I'm made. And I think I have the smallest waist I've had in maybe my whole life. I don't know, because it does target that fat in the middle of the body. So we know that is the healthiest fat for us to get rid of. And so that's really very common, actually.
It's a beautiful thing, it is. And that was one reason why I wanted to try the ketogenic, because nothing else I was doing seemed to even touch that middle part.
Yeah. And well, and contrast that then, Kim, to it sounds like you've tried other diet programs in the past where you had to, like, cut back on fat, probably is the most common thing, because that's high in calories, and you had to put the salad dressing on the side and just dip your fork in there, right? Whereas with this one, I tell people, order extra salad dressing, put even more dressing on it, and when you go out to eat or at home, make sure you've got plenty of extra salad dressing. Oh, and don't do those light or low-fat dressings. Get the full-fat one, like ranch or, Caesar dressing is another great one. There's all those things that we do in forever that we were told not to do. I often joke on my webinars that keto is kind of the opposite of what we've been told for the last 30 or 40 years is healthy for us, right? Like extra salad dressing. You don't have to have too many veggies. Fruits maybe aren't that healthy for you. Lots and lots of extra fat, especially saturated fat too. Add salt as well. That's another one. What? You have to add salt?
I'm curious about the salt, but I figure people who eat like hard cheese, there's a ton of salt there.
Yeah, so, there's something about a ketogenic diet. It has a very strong diuretic effect in the body. And with that, your body also loses some sodium. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make, especially when they're trying to go it alone on a ketogenic diet, is that they don't know about that salt supplementation. And it's essential, not optional, but it's essential if you're eating 60 grams or carbs or less a day, that you supplement it with at least 1 teaspoon of salt every day. And that's in addition to what you get in your food.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. I haven't been eating bacon for years, and now I want bacon.
Yeah.
And I want it often. I think I too can eat bacon and eggs every day. Oh, yeah. Kim, you said that you kind of wish you would have done relatively when you started. Can you give us just one tip for people out there that are thinking, they'd like to start it on this? What's one tip you like to take on your experience? Sign up with someone like Carole. That's my tip, Kim.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Kim. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly...
And thank you for being there. And thank you for tipping me off to ketogenic. It's fabulous.
We're glad to have you, Kim. So, yeah.
All right. Keep Carole posted. Head over to her Facebook or something and keep a post on your progress. I will. Thank you. Great. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Jim. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. We're down to about 5 minutes. What would you recommend if someone's out there and I understand what Kim is saying, because I now pour my bacon grease over my eggs, like gravy.
Yeah.
And but there's a part of me that's still a little bit, no, there's too much fat. So there's people out there that are afraid. Can you give them some advice on what they can do to get started right away and maybe set that fear aside?
Oh gosh, that is a good question. I would start with, like, universally, all the nutritionists out there and healthcare providers probably can agree that cutting out sugar, refined flours is the best first step. So those things pretty agreeable to everybody that they're just not healthful for us. And so that is a first place to start. You can do a gradual approach where you just slowly start to cut back on carbohydrates and increase fat intake. But there's a point you get to where if your carbohydrates are low enough, then that you really need to know what you're doing as far as initiating and starting a ketogenic diet. And so typically that's going to be, at 60 grams of carbs or less, somewhere in there, you're going to hit this this phase where your body needs to convert over to running on ketones and converting fat. And if you don't know what you're doing, you might straddle that line and you might feel pretty miserable for a while. And so I recommend either people, do a little research on their own. There's certainly people that can do it on their own. However, I'm a fan of my 90-day program because it really gives you all the information you need to know about how to do it correctly. For example, like that salt supplementation and how much to get and how to get that in every day, and then plus everything else that you need to know to make that initial transition. But it also gives you the support of doing it, right? Like, how much more successful are you at making a big change when you have other people that are doing it along with you, that are there for support and bouncing ideas off and troubleshooting and all that. Additionally, I also give you the psychology piece of it, right? So because of my background and training, I'm especially good at helping people make those long-term habit changes, right? So think back in the past when you've tried to follow some kind of a dietary change, and then for some reason you fall back into old habits. And I really focus a lot on how do you build up self-care skills and stress management techniques and all of that to make it so that you can do this long-term and make it sustainable and not something that you just try for a few months and then you just go back to your old eating habits and gain all the weight back again. So that's what I recommend. As a place to start, maybe just follow me on Instagram so you can start to see that, yeah, this is really delicious food and easy things. I really focus on things that take 5 minutes or less to make too. So, gosh, that's a long answer, right?
That's fine. That's great. I'm realizing we're going to have to have you back on again. There's so much great information here. We haven't really cut the surface yet. But I just want to let everybody know, you do have the 90-day ketogenic diet program. People, best place to find you, that'd be at your website, hypnoticnutrition.com, and your Facebook.
Yeah, go to my website is hypnoticnutrition.com. Right at the top of the website, there's a purple banner that says 90-day keto challenge. So if you click on that, you can get all the information about what's included in that program. Really, really a lot of success that people have on that. So I've got some testimonials on that page too. If you want to see the food I'm eating, follow me on Instagram. Facebook, my Facebook is Hypnotic Nutrition as well, and I share a lot of success stories on there, but also different research articles and other articles that are relevant to a low-carb, high-fat dietary lifestyle. So those are 3 different ways that you can get in touch with me.
Fantastic. Everybody, this is Jim Kellner. We're going to sign off now. Thanks for listening to Exploring Awesome. I'll be back next week with your questions about hypnosis. I've got some really great guests coming up this season. So take care, be well, and be awesome.